Welcome back to another Premier Division show. Before we get into the show, so the League of Ireland community, Sean, was reeling this week the news of Maxi Mark Kavanagh and his death. So we'd like to send huge condolences to his family. There's actually a link I'm going to leave in the description as well for a GoFundMe page just to help out his family in terms of covering the costs of the funeral. But he was a massive character in the League of Ireland, wasn't he, Sean, in fairness? And an absolutely huge diehard Dundalk fan who really had a lot of time for other clubs as well. So it was really, really horrible news. And as I said, I'll leave that link down in the description. On to the games, Sean, this week, or last week, I should say. Drogheda United and Derry City at Weavers Park finished Drogheda United 2, Derry City 1. France Pirot with 2 goals for Drogheda, his 10th league goal of the season. And Quinn with a late OG for Drogheda as well to give Drogheda all 3 points. Huge win for them. Unfortunately for them as such, Bohemians also won that night. But Dundalk themselves were beaten, so it's a massive gap. They're 8 points clear Dundalk now. It looks virtually, there's 4 games left for both clubs. It looks virtually impossible that Drogheda are going to finish 10th anyway. Massive win for them, but another disappointing away performance and result for Derry City. And on a night where Shamrock Rovers were beaten and Shelbourne drew, it leaves them in the position. Yeah, they're 4 points behind Shells. They have a game in hand, but disappointing night for Derry City, you'd have to say.
Yeah, and Rory Higgins sounded very frustrated in post-match press conference there. Look, with the results going the way they did for Shelbourne and for Rovers, it's not the worst. It's not the worst weekend Derry could have had, but you want to win your own games. What that does for confidence, what that does for morale. I mean, as you said, another away loss, another really disappointing performance, another missed opportunity to capitalize on other teams slipping up. I mean, it's a very. I mean, this is Derry's best chance by far to win the league, and they're still not doing it. Like, I don't know how many times this makes it that they've had a chance and they've slipped up again, and they're heading into. I mean, I don't even know if the cup is an escape for them now, because if they lose that, that's going to carry over to the league. That's going to carry over to their mentality, and I mean. To be fair, Drogheda are probably, with the exception of Pats, probably the informed team in the league at the moment. So it wasn't going to be an easy
they're
game.
second in the form table, yeah.
So it was never going to be an easy game. But if you're going for the league, you have to be winning these games.
At this stage of the season, you kind of have to, and their away form hasn't been good enough, unfortunately, really. But I think. What's interesting about the game as well is that Derry literally tried to copy and change system and style to basically copy what Drogheda were doing. But when you do that, you'd argue that, well, Drogheda probably do it better because they're used to doing it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's a dangerous game, and I don't think that might have worked well for Derry City. And like Drogheda, the 2 up front has been remarkable. Like Pirot was, as I said, been brilliant since he's been up front with James Taylor, and James Taylor sets up both goals for Pirot as well. It's a proper old-fashioned partnership that you don't see anymore with strikers.
Yeah, it work, and as you said, it works really well for him now. Like, I think the 2 of them now are into double digits for goals this season, so it's really worked out well for him. I don't agree with ever trying to match the style of the opposition, and especially, look. As well as Drogheda are going, you would say that on paper, Derry City have better players. That they're a better team on paper, so that they should have their own identity, they should have their own style, and the onus should be then on Drogheda.
Would you suggest, from a Derry point of view, that's overthinking the situation a little bit?
Yeah, and it suggests nervousness. It suggests that there's panic. I would put it down to the manager that he feels that his own, like, that says to me that he feels his own tactics were not sufficient. Are not good enough to get something out of this game, and that's an incredibly worrying sign.
Yeah, I mean, from Drogheda's point of view, not fantastic result. I still think it's unlikely to catch Bows, in my opinion, particularly with
Mm,
their win. And we'll get on to that game now. Finished Dundalk nil, Bohemians
mm,
2, the volume 58 with a cracking left-footed finish. Mountain
mm,
OG after 84 minutes. And I felt going into this game, Sean, that this was the last chance saloon for Dundalk. I
mm,
felt like they had to win this game. And looking at the
mm.
table now, you probably say they had to win the game. Like, how are they going to
Yeah.
overturn 8 points? Like, and by the way, you're
Mm,
saying overturning 8 points, assuming Drogheda getting none out of their last four
yeah.
games. That's not happening either. I think it's
Mm,
impossible. It's just a horrible
yeah.
time for Dundalk overall.
Mm,
Obviously, the stuff's still off the pitch, and it's really affecting them on the pitch now as well. And obviously, as I mentioned in the intro there, the death of a massive personality around the town as
mm,
well, and it's just there's a massive cloud over that club really. And look, they did have chances in the match early on. There was a scramble. I don't know how it didn't go in.
mm,
A goal line scramble, and if they go in
mm.
front, maybe things are different. But nothing. Literally, there's nothing going right for the club really at the moment, is there?
No, there really isn't. And I mean, with all the off the field stuff, I mean, on the field, unfortunately, they have been the worst team in the league this season consistently.
Yeah.
I think in the first half of the season, they were a little bit better than Drogheda, but Drogheda have massively improved since the summer transfer window, and Dundalk haven't. Um, so yeah, I would definitely say the worst team in the league this year. So probably deservedly 10th. It's sad that I don't think, to be fair, I don't think you can accuse the Dundalk players of not trying. I just think, particularly up front, they're lacking a bit of quality that they would have had in past seasons. They because first half of the game, I thought was even enough. I thought maybe Dundalk would have had a
Yeah.
bit more of the momentum going in because it was such a massive game for them. And Bows, I mean, are haven't been doing well this season either. So it could have, if they got a bit lucky, maybe in the first half they could have got a result. But when the voice scored, I saw that this was
Mm.
that there was only ever going to be one outcome, and unfortunately, as you said, yeah, I mean, I think this is it. There's no way Dundalk. I mean, Dundalk would basically have to win every single game from now until the end of the season
And
to get
even
out
that
of
mightn't be good enough.
and even that mightn't be good enough. So yeah, unfortunately, yeah, Dundalk. It's going to be. I mean, like if the club survives, which hopefully it does, that it's going
Mm.
to be a season or probably longer spent in the first division.
Yeah, 100%. As for Bowes, it was a vital win for Bowes because I still think that 4 points and with that possibility of getting even a point out of that game in hand, I just think that probably that win was vital to try and keep Drogheda at arm's length, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, you look at from a Bulls perspective, this was probably the most winnable game remaining in the season. So 100%, they needed to win this game. It does give them a bit, now they can turn their focus fully towards the cup next week. It's they're playing, I mean, playing Derry, who maybe are a little bit fragile. They might fancy their chances a little bit. So look, it hasn't been a good season for Bulls. It's been really rotten season actually, but you get back to a final, things can change. That could boost your morale going into the last few games. The gap, I think, is 4 points at the moment. Um, uh, Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I think
Yeah,
it's
you're
4 points. Yeah, and so that it's a little bit of a cushion. It's a little bit of a cushion.
right.
You win one or two of your last four games. That could be enough. That could be enough for you to finish eighth.
Yeah.
And you can say, look, forget about this season. It hasn't been great, and build for next season.
100%. The RC finished Waterford FC 1, Galway United 2. McMenemy giving Waterford the lead after 7 minutes. Walsh
Mm,
equalising after 61, and Bruder getting the winner for the Westerns in
mm,
68. And obviously, a couple of things here. I suppose Waterford's poor recent record against Galway
mm,
continues. That's first of all. Second of all, was a massive win for Galway in terms of the race for Europe,
mm,
putting them up at 49 and setting Waterford on keeping them on 43. So, you know
mm,
what I mean? It's unlikely that maybe that Waterford they're still in the running, but they're the underdogs in the running now, very
mm.
much so, let's say. But also the fact that Pádraig Amon missed a penalty at 1-0.
Yeah.
If he scores that penalty, I don't think Galway get anything out of the game. So that's a massive, massive
Mm,
turnaround in that game. And it's fair to say I still think no matter what happens to Waterford now, they've had a good season back in the Premier Division. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Being the first season
Mm.
back, but the wheels have come off there, haven't they, Sean? A bit.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you'd have said to me at the start of the season we're probably gonna finish seventh now. It's probably
Mm.
where it is. Bows, I think, are a bit too far behind, but I think Pats are going to run away with it, and I think Shamrock Rovers and Galway are going to do enough to stay ahead of us. I don't think we're going to win. I mean, it's more likely, it's far more likely in my view that we would lose all 4 games than win all 4 games to end the season. So I said, at the start of the season, if you offered me seventh, yeah, I'd say that would have been a decently solid season. But with the way the season has gone, I mean,
Mm.
you're talking about being like one of the front runners for Europe a couple of weeks ago, and now to have fumbled that position so badly, I mean, it's really disappointing. Very, very disappointing when looking at it up close. Um,
Actually, only Dundalk have lost more matches than Waterford. Now they haven't
yeah,
drawn many.
mm,
To be fair to them.
yeah, yeah. I mean, but it's relegation form. Unfortunately, it's been relegation form for the last for probably the last couple of months, and it's very disappointing. I mean, I have learned some things since that the club were looking with an eye to the reason why they didn't strengthen so much in the summer window is that they were looking at sustainability, that they didn't want to have a club that was overly reliant on money from Fleetwood, which when you look at Dundalk's situation now makes it makes it understandable, but it's still
And if you
very
look at some of the
disappointing.
past things with Waterford as well, like,
Yeah,
that kind of way.
you don't want you don't want because one accident can happen, then one bad thing can happen, and all of a sudden the wheels come off entirely. So, look, that makes it a bit more understandable, but yeah, still very disappointed because I don't feel like it would have required that much more
Mm.
for us. You're talking about a difference of maybe, 4 or 6 points. So 2 games even that go differently. 2 games go slightly differently
Well,
for you.
Sean, I think you
You're
mentioned
in.
yourself, if you look at Galway, like they brought in the
Yeah,
likes of Jimmy Cahan and Cunningham,
yeah,
and they've
yeah.
definitely boosted Galway United, those
They
particular
have.
players, actually.
They have. And I mean, they haven't, like, looking at them on Friday, like, you can see why they brought him in. And the other thing as well is that there is a very definite game plan there,
Mm.
and in midfield in particular.
Mm.
I mean, looking at Patrick Hickey next to any of our midfielders, um, it was like men against boys. Our midfield wasn't able to compete at all. I can't recall a time in the second half where we held onto the ball for any extended period of time.
Mm.
Uh, and that was particularly where the battle was won and lost. Um, look, we have decent midfielders, but I think in seasons past we would have had someone like Anthony Wordsworth or Robbie Weir who would have organised them and
Do you
maybe told
lack
them
a
what to
play a
do.
midfielder, a kind of a general, a midfielder that's going to dig in and win the ball? There's nice footballers
Mm.
in midfield, by the way, in
Yeah,
Bagley and McDonald, but
but
maybe you lack a
but
little
that's
bit
what
of
I think.
bite in
Yeah,
midfield.
I think so too. I think that's part of the problem. But I think there was lack of organisation because, well, particularly when we went 2-1 down, I thought the midfielders just lost all their discipline completely. Um, And the other thing as well, I mean, for the 2 goals, I mean, particularly for the first goal, not dropping back and helping out the defence.
Mm.
We conceded a lot of goals, but I don't think you can pin that on the defence too much because they defend like they have to defend a lot, and you rely on your midfield. Maybe like
You
a
need your
number
midfield to
four,
cover ground as well, yeah.
yeah, like a number four to come back to
Yeah.
drop back and take the ball off the centre half or something like that.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, it's really disappointing. The season I think has petered out at this point.
Mm.
The next 4 games are kind of, they're just sort of maybe giving young players a chance. I think because I think Europe is very unlikely at this stage in time.
As for
So
Galway
yeah.
United, to be fair to them, they're 5 points
Mm.
behind Shelbourne and they've got Dundalk at
Well,
home
I was going to
Friday.
say, I was going to say actually, forget about Europe now. Galway. If you want to talk about Shamrock Rovers being in the title race, you definitely have to talk about Galway being there as well because they've got a really comparatively easy run in. They play Bows at home on the final day. They've got Dundalk at home. You have to think they're going to win those games.
Could you imagine as well Bowls run a cup final on the
Yeah.
final
Oh
day?
yeah.
You
They
know
could
what I
be
mean?
resting
They're in a
players.
position where they're kind of, geez, we might rest some players here as well.
Yeah, they could rest players. I mean,
Yeah.
so it's really looking favourable for Galway. I think it I mean, I think even if Derry don't win the cup, I think there's a high chance they finish at least in the top three and
Mm,
qualify for Europe that way anyway.
mm.
So really, I mean, it's been a phenomenal season for them.
Jeez, I mean, if John Caulfield won the league with Galway, he's won the league with Cork and that, but this would be his biggest
Mm,
achievement ever. And actually be a
mm.
bigger, we talk about how big of achievement it would be for Shells to win the league. If Galway
I
won the
mean,
league,
yeah,
it'd
I mean,
be
can you
ridiculous.
ever recall like a team coming straight off in the first division and winning the league?
It's very rare these days, isn't it? Very rare. I
Mm,
can't remember the
yeah,
last time. If anyone knows, let us know in the comments, by the way.
yeah.
Talking about Shelbourne, on Friday night they drew 0-0 with Sligo Rovers in a game where
Mm,
was even enough, but Shelbourne were probably slightly the better side. Ali Coote missed a great chance in the game. They did show improvements in that game from the games that they had before, but ultimately fairly entertaining 0-0, I'd have to say. There were shouts for handball near the end,
mm,
but in my opinion, again, it's one of them. It hits his hand. Like, what are you supposed to do? Like, you know what I mean? That's a handball. That's not a
mm.
handball. So, you know
Yeah,
what I mean? It's there's no issue there for me, but it was a decent performance by Shelbourne, and weirdly at the time, obviously, a point gained in Derry City and Shamrock Rovers. And from Sligo Rovers' point of view, you know what I mean? They're still very much in the hunt for Europe. They're 2 points behind
mm,
Galway United as well. I think I've said it a good few times. Panacher has been a big loss for them, but they'd be happy to
yeah.
clean sheet um, at Talca Park, and hopefully they'll be thinking they can
Mm.
build on that in the last few games.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely a more positive result, I think, for Sligo than
Yeah.
for Shelbourne.
Mm.
Um, I, I, um, yeah, but I think unfortunately for Shelbourne, a little bit too timid in front of goal.
Mm.
They were saving it for Monday night, where it also didn't work out. But
We'll get on to that
uh,
soon.
yeah, I think it's funny because I think I can see what they're trying to do with Aidan O'Brien, bringing him
Mm.
in, the big name, and to have a striker as well.
Mm.
But I really don't think that if they were looking at bringing in players, I don't think that's what was needed. They really needed someone out wide to provide service into the box,
Mm.
and it's
I
not what
think
they
the
brought
issue
in.
there, Sean, to be honest, why they brought him in as well was the fact that Sean Boyd's had a lot of injury problems in the last month or
Mm,
two, and they're really trying to manage him. And you know what I mean? He's coming
mm,
off the bench and bits and pieces
yeah,
like that. You know what I mean? And they really
mm,
have to manage his minutes. So I think they feel, if they didn't bring in Aidan O'Brien, all they'd have is kind of it's Sean Boyd, not a full tilt. You know what I mean? He's in and out with
mm,
injury, and they have to carefully manage him and stuff like
yeah,
that. I think that was the thoughts behind it. You know what I mean?
mm. I think so. Yeah, may probably. But even then, I'd say Matthew
Yeah.
Smith has probably been more effective in front of goal in recent weeks. But yeah, I mean, it's a case of 2 points dropped there. I think I
Mm.
know they gained points on the night, but a case of 2 points dropped.
Well, if they got three, it would have been
Uh,
massive, wouldn't it?
yeah, I mean, look, if I mean, if they get a scrappy goal or like a
Mm.
dodgy penalty call or something like that, they you forget about the performance at this stage because it's all about results.
Mm.
You take a scrappy 1-0 or whatever. But yeah, it's very unusual not seeing Shelbourne being able to do this in recent weeks.
Mm.
And look from a Sligo perspective, as I said, I mean, at this stage, it's such fine margins. You'd want to win every game, but you pick up 1 point, you don't lose. Um, your goal difference stays where it is, so it's much more positive for
And they're
Sligo.
still in, like we talk about the top four or whatever. They're still in the race for the top three. They're 2 points behind
Yeah,
Shamrock Rovers. So they're still
yeah.
there.
I mean,
Very much so.
they
Like, yeah.
absolutely, and
Mm.
they still have to play Galway this season, so they have the chance to
Mm. They also play
their
Derry
their
City,
fate.
who they have a very good record against, by the way.
So their
Yeah.
fate is very much in their hands with
Mm.
regards to getting into Europe and all that sort of thing. So yeah, lots to be happy for from a Sligo perspective.
Yeah, 100%. The final game Friday night was at Tal Stadium where it finished Shamrock overs nil, St. Patrick's Athletic 3. Joe Redmond after a minute, Mulroney after
Mm,
13, and Mulroney again on 59 minutes with a very good goal, actually. It was a good move, actually. But from Shamrock Rovers' point of view, this was a bit of a shock to the system, wasn't it? I don't
mm,
think many people expected them to be so easily beat, to be honest. We were talking about
mm,
how Pats are coming into the game on form, and we'll talk about the Shelbourne game in a minute as well. But
mm,
um, that was a big win for Pats. They played really, really well on the night, and I thought Forrester controlled the game. And Shamrock Rovers did have chances. I think early on after Redmond's goal, Burke gets through and Redmond makes a brilliant tackle. But after that, it was kind of like their only real threats were Graham Burke long shots, really. And Pats obviously had opportunities to score goals. Mulroney got 2 very good goals. Mealy had a chance. He was very good as well. He gave Lopez a bit of a run around for a 17-year-old, just gone 17-year-old to do that. Speaks volumes. I think there's a big future for him in the game, actually. But yeah, I mean, again, massive win for St. Patrick's Athletic. We'll talk about the Shelbourne game in a minute, but they're on some run of form, and under Kenny, they've really hit. They really look like a team, don't they? A team. They always had good players, as I said before, under Daly and that, but they didn't look a team. But he's maximising the potential of the players at the club, Kenny. There's no doubt about that. And any team who rocks up with Talasane with a 3-0 win. Waterford nearly done that earlier on in the season, didn't they? They won 3-1. So it doesn't happen very often. It happened kind of twice this season, but it just stammers Shamrock Rovers just a little bit there, doesn't it?
Well, I was going to bring that up actually because it's happened then, and then it's happened to when they played PAOK Thessaloniki in the Europa League playoffs. But it's very unusual to see Shamrock Rovers, even at that level, get dominated at home, like they have been this season. I mean, to be fair, I suppose you're looking at the other side. You're looking at the other side of things. St. Pat's are the form side in the league. I mean, if the first half of the season wasn't such a disaster, they'd probably be the front runners for the league. I think even if you give them 3 more points than they have currently, I think you make them favourites for the league. Yeah,
it's crazy.
I mean, even as it is, I think even as it is, they could still win the league. But you're looking for a lot of things to go wrong for everybody else.
But it's so funny to even consider that, isn't it? Though it's actually it just shows how crazy the league and competitive the league is this season.
I mean, this is a team that was like 7th place a couple of weeks ago. It might have been 7th place actually. I think they were
before Friday. They were 7th place, but they were flirting with they were pretty much on a par with Bows for a lot of the season in the position they're in.
Yeah, it did look that way, and so it's certainly. I mean, look, anyone who's watched them play over the past few weeks and watching their run in Europe and things like that wouldn't be that surprised. But if you were looking at it from an outsider's perspective with no idea, you hadn't seen any of the games, you'd wonder what the hell was going on. Yeah,
you'd wonder if you saw one of their games, you'd wonder how are they there in the league. You'd kind of look at them, how are they there in the league? Doesn't make sense. But it's football. But no, I mean they're playing like it's the way they're playing as well, not just picking up results, are they? They're playing brilliant football.
No.
Like it's not, from my point of view, it's nice to talk about it because the first half of the season completely negative. And it just shows, like, nothing against John Daly, but it just shows the difference between, the managers, if we're honest about it. Like, you're talking about an elite League of Ireland manager, absolutely, in Kenny, and a manager I thought was a bit reactive. And if you look at some of those players that Pats have, you're kind of saying to yourself, I know they've added El Bazzetti in particular, but he wouldn't have come if Daly was there, let's be honest. But to be so reactive with that set of players is scandalous, actually.
It is, yeah. I mean, and you talk about it, those international connections as well. Like, he managed El Bazzetti at under 21 level for Ireland. He's able to bring in that kind of talent. And I mean, you talk about a guy who's worked at senior international level before. That experience is coming in. He's managed in the Europa League,
under 21s even.
Under 21,
21s, yeah. I think you mentioned that
playing at the Toulon tournament and stuff like that. And he's really got a lot. Everyone knew, and I mean the fact that they've got him on a 5-year deal as well. It was very. I mean, what
I thought was hilarious, Sean. After about a month, there was some grumbling, some Pats fans saying we don't really see much of a difference, and I was just like, oh my god, it's a month. He hasn't had a pre-season, and you're kind of. And by the way, I could see little differences coming into play, if you know what I mean. That I could see little bits and pieces, but obviously it wasn't all coming together yet. But when you're seeing that, like, and every fan base does that, I suppose, but you're kind of going, the guy's there a month. I remember he took charge on a Thursday, and he had a match on the Friday and the Monday.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do there? And the fitness levels have improved, and that's something that takes time as well. So, I don't know. Bizarre.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's a reason he's on such a long deal. Is Pats knew this was going to be a long project, and I think even I said earlier on in the season actually that I think even if Pats did finish like seventh and missed out on Europe entirely, like you still wouldn't sack Kenny because of how badly the first half of the season
Mm.
went. So this was always going to be a long-term project, and the fact that it's come to fruition so quickly, I mean, you can already write down Pats as one of the challengers for the league next year, and even this season, you wouldn't. I think you'd make them strong contenders for Europe.
Oh, they're certainly on that right path. And as you say, the other
Mhm.
teams are close, but the momentum is huge. And I suppose we'll go on to the Shelbourne game. And did you see that game? It was a crazy
Yeah,
game.
it was an insane game, absolutely
Oh, I
insane.
mean, I'll let you talk about it because I was there and I've talked about it. But obviously, we finished Shelbourne 2, St. Bartholomew 3,
Mm, yeah.
Redmond at 22, Kavanagh in 62,
Mm,
Tulloch, Screamer in 76, Smith with a
mm,
goal that wasn't too far behind it in 80, and Kazim with the winner in 88.
mm.
What did you make of it all, watching it?
I mean, it's probably the best half of League of Ireland football that I can remember from a
Mm.
neutral perspective. The best half of football. It was so exciting. I mean, it had a bit of everything. But uh, I thought particularly the second goal Shels conceded, I thought Paddy Barrett was at fault for it. I thought it was a really poor goal to give away. But I thought at that stage, okay, the game is over.
Mm.
Um,
I thought
you know,
Pats were in
you,
control at that stage, complete control, like, weren't they? I
they were
thought. Mm.
totally dominant up until that point. All through the first half, I thought
Mm.
they were totally in control of the game. And I think Tulloch's goal came out of nothing. It was a great strike, but it came out of nothing. And then at that stage, uh, I've never seen. I tell you what, that's what made it great is that there was such a momentum shift. Because like just like a couple of minutes later, Matty Smith and an equally great goal. I mean, at that stage I didn't know. I mean, I would have
Tulloch had a
fancied
great
the Shells
chance after that, by the way. Do you
because
remember?
yeah, because at that stage when a team comes back from 2-0 down, you fancy them to get the third goal and to win the game.
Mm.
And Tulloch had a great chance. Yeah, I thought maybe that was the way it was going to go, but it was still. I mean, Pat still threatened, and they did, of course, in the end get a goal. I think Shelby very disappointed that because it's like it happened in slow motion.
Mm.
Al Kazim was on his own in the penalty area. It's a
Mm.
great third to be fair from Melia.
Mm.
If he scored it, it would have been a great goal. The
Mm.
Shells wouldn't have been maybe that disappointed. But the
Mm.
fact that it's a tap
Mm.
in the box in such a decisive game,
Do you think though
really,
there was this talk that there might have been a foul in the lead up to the goal,
yeah,
where Bolger. Now I think Bolger does rugby tackle Martin, but I think Martin pulls him back at the start of that. Now I'm not sure if
yeah,
there's enough to say. Is that what the referee's given the free to Pats for? Because he's seen Martin pull him first. Now there's no doubt there's a rugby tackle afterwards
yeah,
by Bolger.
yeah.
But is there enough of a pull to give that as a foul, or what did you think of that one?
Well, I think, yeah, I think it's a case of if you're the referee, you have to get blow for the foul that happened first.
Mm.
I think um, it's a little bit soft. I think,
Mm.
but I think within the realm of reason, I didn't think it was
Mm.
totally unreasonable. Duff was given out about it, all right. After the match, I think to be fair, he was just looking for excuses because I mean, they if they had gotten away with a draw last night,
Mm.
getting away with it would have been the term to describe it. They would have been totally,
It's
totally,
one
totally.
win and nine for Shells now. And to be honest, I do think their performance, I do think Pats created the better chances overall in the game, but I
Yeah,
do think Shells fought better maybe than they have in the last few weeks. But
yeah,
as you said, so much happened. I mean, Aidan Keane is shot from the halfway line. Like, if that goes in, like, you're
mm,
kind of going, what a goal. It's the bar. I
yeah,
think Mulroney hits the post, doesn't he? And there's a few other chances.
yeah,
Paddy Barrett
yeah,
is a header that goes wide early doors. You could talk about this all day, like, you know what I mean? But the red card for
yeah,
Matty Smith, a lot of people, I do think that's a red card. You
yeah,
can't just go in like that. Even if you look at Mark
no,
Kyle's reaction, Mark Kyle looks like
yeah,
he's looking at him and going, "What are you doing, Matty?" I do think that's a
yeah.
red card. To be fair,
It's a red card. Look, it's late on in the
it's
game. They
frustration.
probably then yeah, frustration exactly. A rush of blood to the head. He knows the game is probably gone at that stage, and he's just taking out his frustrations. I think look, he's let his team down because not because of anything that happened on that night. I mean, they wouldn't have had the
Well, there's
chance to
only a
win the
few
game.
games to go. I think that's what you're about to say, is it?
Yeah,
If he misses a
there's
couple
only a
of
few games to
games.
go, and he's going to be suspended. It's a straight red, so that's I think that's a 3-game suspension. and you're talking about 4 games left. So
Yeah.
and the final game is a game that they're not guaranteed to win away to Derry City.
Plus,
So
they've a few suspensions this week. Paddy Barrett is suspended for the game on Sunday, for
mm,
example, against Shamrock Rovers, and I
yeah,
believe Griffin is out as well. So suddenly
mm,
they're a little bit depleted. Shelbourne haven't been depleted all season. That's been one of the key things for me. They haven't been missing that many
yeah,
players all season, and their
no.
squad wouldn't be the strongest in terms of their squad totality, that kind of way. So I do think that's massive for them.
It's huge for them. I mean, the only thing I'd say is that Shamrock Rovers are in European action on Thursday, so they might be a bit leggy after that. If a funny thing is though, Shamrock Rovers will not be flying anywhere until the end of the season because their 2 European games are at home to Applewell and away to Larne up
That
the
is a big
motorway.
thing.
It's a big thing. So the travel is not going to be that much of a factor for Rovers. But
Mm.
I think if rumors are true and if this is Bradley's last season at Rovers, then and of course they have a very favourable draw in the Conference League as well. I think
Mm.
they might have one eye on that. They might say, well, look, we won 4 leagues in a row. It's very difficult. The most difficult thing is to want to keep winning
It depends
after
on
you win.
Sunday's game. If they win that, you see they're right in it. But if they don't,
Mm.
then do you know what I mean? But it's amazing though to think that people think that Shelbourne are kind of falling apart at the seams here. They're still top of the
Yeah,
league.
they are
They're
still top
still
of the
top of the
league,
league,
and I
and they
mean
will be
they're like,
top of the league after Sunday, even if they lose.
and correct me, they're like, I know Derry have a game in hand, but they're like 4 points
Still top,
and
yeah.
top of the league as well. It's
Mm.
it's the league that it's the league. It's certainly the strangest season that I can remember. It's the
Mm.
league that nobody wants to win
I'm really
by the look
enjoying
of
it
it.
though, I have to say. It's
Oh,
to and
it's been
fro
very
and it's
exciting.
so tight. It's like you were saying it there, like if you look at it right, there's for most teams if 4 games left, right? Could you imagine in
Yeah,
a league season someone said to you that with 4 games left, there's going to be 7 points between first and sixth?
yeah. It would have been a really exciting season to have that described to me at the start, and that's exactly what we're looking at.
I would
It's
have said bullshit.
if you want to like know who's going to win the league, you could just like blindfold yourself and like throw darts at it, throw darts at the dartboard. Like that's probably the most accurate way to predict who's going to win the league heading into the last few games.
Hmm.
Really, really, no, but yeah, no, been a fantastic season to watch, and
Hmm.
still a lot to go.
Just to finish quickly on Pats in terms of where they are now, obviously they're 2 points
Mm,
behind Galway United, and a lot of people say they have
mm,
momentum, and obviously they do have
mm,
momentum. They've 5 wins in a
yeah,
row, etc. But
mm,
the fact that Galway, let's say, play Dundalk this week, and I understand that Pats would have a game in hand, but it would be still tough for Pats to finish ahead of Galway if they were to win that game to be 5 ahead, that kind of way. So although Pats have
yeah.
momentum, they could probably feel like they could do another game on Friday, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, they could. I think when you have momentum, you always want to keep playing.
Mm.
You always want to keep it
You're
going
never
because you
tired
stop.
when you're winning, though, Sean.
No,
It's the funny
you're
thing.
never tired. I mean, you want to. Pat's probably wanted to play a game today after last night. So that's an important thing, and that little gap. I don't think it will. I mean, I think they're too good and they're too organized to fall apart after 1 week off. But
Mm.
yeah,
No.
it's disappointing, of course.
Mm.
Disappointing. You always want to play the next game when you're winning. You want to keep your form going. You want to ride it as far as you possibly can. So yeah, a little bit disappointing that they're not playing this week, but I do fancy them to come out of the break and pick up exactly where they left off.
Yeah, another interesting week. It's going to be very interesting end to the season. Very exciting stuff. Guys at home, let us know what you thought about the games over the weekend and Friday night and Monday night, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Thank you, Sean. Lovely.
Peace.